lovely to talk to all of you. And I thought it was just such a lovely movie, especially for right now. I think people need more love in their life and such a beautiful message. And I just kind of wanted to briefly start with Stephen and ask you why you wanted to make this particular film.
I tell the story a lot, but my mother came up with the Burt's line about I had 9 months to be born, I'm going to take 9 months to die, is actually something my mother said before she died, and she had spent a lot of time kind of reconnecting with people that she hadn't seen in a while. She spent like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks at Stratford, like seeing plays and things like that, and hanging out with family she hadn't seen in a while. And I thought it was such a profound statement that I thought it would be really interesting to do it. And so my original idea was to do it with, one defining moment. And then I realized that, who knows what, each person has a different one. Some are happy, some are sad, some are, are about, life changes and things. And I thought, gosh, and so I ended up just starting telling stories. I just wanted to try to, investigate it. And I just kind of let it, happen along the way. But I thought at the time, because I wrote this a long time ago, and I wrote it in 2004, and I wanted to have, like in the case of Tammy Blanchard's character, the lesbian relationship, I wanted to have something that was just more, it wasn't like cinematic in a way that was unfair. It was just two people who loved each other, and I wanted to keep it sweet, and, I think like even when Eric's character finds them in bed, they're wearing like these big, huge clothes and things.
I love that scene.
it's
great.
one of my favorite scenes. It was like, but it was so, I always enjoyed it because it was a simple life scene. Very funny scene, but it was a simple life scene. And I just I wanted to do that as much as I could in the movie, was to tell stories that were, somebody's going to relate to it, whether it was that one or dealing with a parent with dementia, dealing with a father that it has a a death wish to a certain extent, but a lot of those things. And I just thought it would be, I just found that I was meaning it to be much more outrageous. I think when I first started it, I was going to make it very crazy funny, and then I realized the humanists just kept on bringing it back, and I was very pleased with what we ended up with.
I love that there so many the relationships between the fathers and daughters in it, both with Eric's character and Polly's, because it's not often you see that many films that explore that. And I, of course, as a daughter myself, it's just so moving and sweet. I really loved it a lot. And and also, of course, it was Burt Reynolds' last film that he's in, and Eric and Polly, most of the major scenes are with both of you at Burt Reynolds. And I was wondering if you guys could talk a little bit about working with him.
Go ahead, Polly.
Okay.
You had more scenes with him than I did, and you're way more beautiful than I am.
Oh. You're beautiful too, Eric.
No need.
Well, I was very lucky to work with Burt. I think he was an absolute gentleman, and I think I felt like he was my friend by the end of this, which was kind of an amazing thing to say about such a legend, He was so supportive and present and welcoming of like, he never told me what to do. Like, I just feel like sometimes, you think someone with such a vast amount of experience would be more bossy in your scenes, and he was never, he never overstepped those boundaries. He was so supportive. Like, I don't know that I had such an experience with someone who was so supportive in that way, which might have been the father-daughter dynamic, where I really, like, I felt that without, I didn't have to really act that, if that makes sense, because we were just in that relationship so strongly. Right away. Wouldn't you say, Stephen? I feel like that we just fell into that.
You guys were pretty instant. Like, it did feel like
I was nervous. I was like, I don't know how, like. how am I going to handle this? And he's a comedic legend. So just like trying to be funny around Burt Reynolds is like disaster for me. I was like, oh my God. But it was really fun. We had a great time. And, it's heartbreaking now for me with the reality and the art combining. But yeah, he was an absolute love to work with. He is an artist. He loves to act. He loves to make movies, and he loves actors and artists. It's just who he is. So,
he would talk about quite freely about his other films. And he almost always, he only had one film he ever spoke negatively about. Everything else was always about how wonderful this person was and how great this guy was and how talented this guy was. It was always very, very positive stuff. And, when I first met him, like literally, he got stuck at the border for 5 hours. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm screwed. My big actor has been sitting in a room for like 5.5 hours at the border. He gets in, and we're in the same hotel, and I get this note that says, Mr. Reynolds would like to see you now, or something like that. And I'm figuring I'm in big trouble. And like, he literally, like the second I walked through his door, he comes over, and, he didn't walk very well, but he comes over and he gives me a big, huge hug. And he's like, thank you so much for putting me in this movie. And it's just, he's, at that point, he's over 80, he's a legend, and he's still happy to have the part. And was appreciative of the part, and probably knew that I was going to be a little nervous, knowing that he had been stuck at the border for hours and hours and hours, and I thought he did that with all kinds of actors. We had one of my best friends growing up plays the lawyer in the film, who's done a lot, but he's very nervous of meeting, with working with Burt and Polly in that scene. And I can remember Burt just kind of coming over to him and introducing himself, and like totally making it just, and he still tells that story, and I think Burt had such a strong sense of self that he knew that, it was an important moment for other people, and that he would try to make it the best that he could.
It's such a beautiful tribute too, I think, the film to him, and what a beautiful movie to be his final film, truly.
He was, you expect you expect stardom like that, where you're part of the zeitgeist, not only for your work, but for your being this incredible star. And so you expect this, you expect this to be a separating element when you meet him, because I'm not part of the zeitgeist. I'm not a legend.
Wow.
I'm simply a mere mortal, and a very flawed one at that. And so to meet, but he's kind of the opposite. Like, you meet this, and he kind of envelops you in his fame, and you go, oh my God, I'm right at home here in this famous world, but perhaps I am part of it now. Yeah. It was a kind of, it wasn't something that separated him from people. It was something that this was part of him, and he welcomed you into it. And then you discovered that in this room of incredible fame and notoriety was a wonderfully hardworking, sensitive, interesting actor who you could talk over the scene with and complain about the writing. Who wrote this stuff? And how are you getting along with Polly? She can be very, very difficult to understand. She's the Helen Mirren, for example. and then that Wallis, does he know what he's doing? You sit there and you kind of backbite about everybody you're working with, and then go, can you help me up, Burt? No, I actually can't help you up, Eric, because, well, let's see if we can help each other get up. No, he was a great guy. He was wonderful. He was wonderful. And he's a wonderful actor, and a great, talk theater with him, and because he's interested in all those things. And, and if you wanted to get into yarns about, the world at the level that he played at, he was a great raconteur too. He had some great stories about it. Just great. Yeah, he was wonderful.
Eric, your character was, I love the character to begin with. Great. I mean, you're so funny, but it's well, but so touching and so sweet. And such, I think, a great portrayal of somebody going through, beginning stages of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it was so moving and sweet. How did you approach this role in particular?
I didn't have to do much. I typecast again. No, I've made the joke over and over again here today that I was just practicing. I was glad of the opportunity to say I'm just acting, as opposed to people go, Eric, what are you doing out here? Oh, I'm not acting. Yeah, no, it's like when you get to be older. I mean, as an older actor, an older male actor, after 50, you're not given parts. You're just given diseases to play. And the younger actors get to more, and you're passing or you're suffering, and they get to weep and have all the scenes while you cough into Kleenexes. I often thought I'd get my publicity shot with a kind of oxygen mask, well lit. As part of it.
I love that you're not giving parts, you're giving diseases.
Anyway, yeah. No, and it's, I mean, again, as an actor, I can only do so. There's not much I can do. I'm totally dependent on the writing and the scene mates and you would be surprised how much I'm dependent on the costume, and the makeup. Hey, you want to go, oh God, I don't have to do any acting here. I just have to go and then let them take the picture of me, and the audience will make it all up because it's all there. So yeah, I don't feel I ever do much other than get really nervous before you go to shoot, and then you shoot and you come back and go, well, that wasn't so bad. And, when's lunch? Am I wrapped? Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, there's so many parts I loved, and you mentioned the one that when you discover your daughter in the film's a lesbian, call yourself Dr. Lesbian on accident. I thought was great. Also,
he didn't have any attitude about it.
I know, I loved him. I mean, he was just
about it. He just had to. He was just surprised. Again, it was the defining moment. I mean, again, it's so filled with these moments where you walk in the door thinking one thing, and you find an entirely different thing is happening, and you walk out of the room going, "Wow, the world has gone ka-chunk. It's shifted so immensely," and yeah. I guess life's like that, isn't it?
Really? Absolutely. Which is why I think the film is so successful and so relatable in so many ways. I could see just so many different people. I love the part with the checkers too, and I was kind of wondering, Stephen, where that came from.
You know what it was is that I knew that I wanted to have Polly play that part, and she had no chance of doing chess. And I was trying to do.
The abuse we had to put up, the director abuse, actor abuse.
You are right about the chess, but I also didn't know how to play checkers. So
no, she didn't. We had these meetings at night trying to figure out, do we do it, tiddlywinks? Can she do tiddlywinks? And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh. No, actually, you know what it was that in films, it's stereotypically, we would have put chess. We would have been chess that they played. And then, then you actually have to be smart about how you write it. And then I realized I didn't want to spend my time trying to figure out about moving rook to, the blanket and all that stuff. And I thought that I kind of pictured my father at the time. And my father liked playing simple games. So like, I don't know if in the States, whether they have it or not, but like crokinole. You guys know crokinole, Polly?
I don't know what crokinole is.
Crokinole is like this, it's like a big, huge thing. And you have these little things like checkers, and you kind of use your fingers to try to point it towards a hole.
Huh.
And so he liked those simple things. And I thought that Chester is a simple man, and I thought, he wouldn't want the pretentiousness of chess. He probably could have played it. I think he liked checkers, and it was probably checkers because his daughter probably played with him since she was little, and he just thought that there was a kid's game. He's going to play her kid's game, and I think that's where I kept it. Was I thought it was more connected to his personality of Chester than trying to do something super pretentious. Because I find that every time I see a film, it's like, oh, they're playing chess in the corner, and it's like, oh my gosh, like please put the damn things down. None of you know what you're doing, and and so but I thought that sometimes you get the most complex emotions out of the simplest things, I think. And I think that checkers is something that every single person out there outside Polly can play.
Yeah, like besides Polly.
You know what I mean? Like literally, like if there's 1 million people watching this movie on Friday, like there's probably 999,000 of them that can play this game. Like, you know, and
Yeah.
so, but outside that, it's kind of, I just felt it was something more that connected people a little bit more. I wanted to keep the stories and all the intertwining stuff relatable and simple, because I think that sometimes as writers, we try to make things too complex. We try to be too clever. And what ends up happening is you lose people because they don't know what's going on, but they can understand the father and daughter trying to connect through a simple game. And because, you know, Polly's characters, you know, she's lived off in LA and she's a writer now, and father is a very regular guy, you know, she doesn't know how to connect. And I felt that the more simpler that I kept it, the more real it was. And the truthful thing is that she does this lovely thing where she kind of hums while she's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. When she wins the.
And it just feels like such a father-daughter thing. Like I have 3 girls, and it's just like when she did that first time, I thought, oh my God, that's literally my middle child playing me. Is like is giving me the thump 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 thump, you know, by doing it in a sing-song way. I thought it was lovely.
I loved it too. And she always picks like the red ones, but then because they're the lucky ones. I mean, that seems very real. And I'm glad you didn't do chess, because then my mind automatically goes to like 7 Seal or something very like serious and Swiss. So I think checkers is perfect. Have you improved Polly in checkers?
Not yet. There's still time. I'll get a board for next time.
It seemed like a film where it was very important for the cast to be very close and work. I mean, it seemed, you know, you're also lovely too, that you all got very close in it, but it seems so impertinent to the success of making it is what it is now. Just because the stories are so intimate and interweaved. Was it a very, like, did you feel kind of like a family by the end of the film?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll say that because, you know, I think one of the first scenes we did was the biggest scene, wasn't it, Stephen?
The Christmas stuff.
The big Christmas at the end of the movie first, and well, almost the end, wasn't it? I guess about that. Anyway, It had a whole bunch of the cast in, which is always intimidating. You know, you're like, oh my gosh, like, especially if I imagine for a director, that would be just like a big, exhausting thing to have to do first up. And really, I feel like by the end of the first night, we all kind of got this nice dynamic down, who's who. Not one person was a jerk. I really didn't think anyone on set was a jerk, which is unusual. And we all were having so much fun watching everyone else's work, you know, so because there's so many different setups and things going on with this humongous scene, and Burt was just right in there with everyone else watching the show, you know, enjoying the show. And it was very supportive and fun. And I feel like, yeah, we were all friends. Like, I love Tammy. Tammy and I got to work together, which was like, she's amazing. And
Right.
I loved her work, and I thought she was a lovely person, and we got to bond a little on set. And then, so yeah, I feel like everyone was really family-esque. I don't know. What's the word? What's a good word? Stephen, what's the word I want to say?
No, but I think everyone kind of grew into that. I think there was a, you know what, films are a lot easier when there's good people involved, when there's nice people involved. And, you know, and you know, and I'm not going to poke here, so I'm going to be truthful, but like Eric and Polly and Tammy and a lot of those ones are known for how nice they are. You know what I mean? Little on the talent side of things. Now, you can question their talent, but you can't question
their talent, but you cannot question their decent
nice
beings. I have made my career on being a decent human being.
Yeah. But it's really true though. You know, like when you put all these really great people in it, you know, like Tammy, you know, was nominated for a Grammy this year. You know, like. And she came on board that movie like 10, 12 years ago. Like, you know, we met and hit it off, and we made a promise to each other that we were going to go do that film, you know, and I have so many good friends in that film, you know, that, you know, people I work with a lot, you know, like Greene, I work with, like, you know.
Yeah, you were, yeah.
And, you know, and I think that when you have really good people, I think you can become family out of that much easier than when you have people with entourages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and Burt would suffer fools lately. You know, he would never put up with that kind of stuff. Like, for a guy who was that big, like he came with one assistant who literally was the night, like, sweetest man. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was just crazy nice. And so there was none of that kind of stuff, and none of it was ever, I don't tend to allow that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned the hard way over the years. You just got to put a stamp, you know, you stamp your foot on it at the start. But for the most part, though, I found that, you know, when you have really good people, you tend to, especially if they're talented and they're nice, then things tend to work out. I've been very lucky that way. I have a sixth sense for bullshit or something, like, you know, I can tell when somebody's an issue, and I just don't use them. Life's too short. Use really good. There's so many good quality people out there.
I was wondering too, because Eric, you have quite an extensive theater background, which is, theater always is so much more intimate, but this is such an intimate movie. I feel like that probably lent itself well.
Yeah, it did. And but again, speaking about your, you know, the kind of family aspect, the ensemble aspect of this film, I mean, you know, the great risk had been having this huge movie star involved, and that turned out to be, I mean, he was really quite a catalyst for the ensemble aspect of it, as we've been talking about. Burt was like, yeah, and again, from the theater point of view, I mean, he's a great theater lover too, you know, and so that we had a great time with that. But it was amazing how stimulating Burt was, this wonderful, you know, this great big movie star, to the kind of collegial feeling of everybody working on in an ensemble way together. And because he's the real goods as a kind of actor, you know, he loves to act, he loves to talk about it. He, you know, there's nothing about reputation basically that's involved in this. It's about what we're trying to do, what the characters want in this part of the scene, what we're trying to do in the overall part of the movie, and the kind of fun of putting that together. And, you know, the brief time you get to rehearse anything, and when you're shooting, you know, the fun of, you know, as well as, you know, and as well as we bonded too, as being two very kind of ancient people. The two ancient people, the ancient ones, the old ones on the set. Anyway, it was great. It was wonderful.
You guys were the Gandalf of the movie.
Hardly wizards.
Gandalf and Dumbledore.
Well, I loved it so much. I know I'm gonna get a message. I have to wrap it up. I always we're an accident, but I really did think it was such a lovely movie, and I think it's so lovely that is Burt Reynolds. I mean, I adore Burt Reynolds. It's one of my favorite movies ever, and this was such a lovely film to be his final film. Truly, I think it's a beautiful tribute to him. That's such a beautiful film.
Glad you think that. That's great.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the perfect. It's kind of like you can't ask for a better kind of like a feel good kind of movie than that to kind of showcase the end of your work. I think so, and what a beautiful message. But thank you guys so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been a joy, and you are all very delightful people.
It's the Canadian in us.
It is. I like it.
Yeah.